In this lesson, we're going to talk about running or debugging our code. There are going to be times when we want to run our code and see it work, and there are going to be times when we want to be able to step through our code or walk through our code and watch it as code lines execute to see where potential bugs exist or perhaps see where some of our code is going wrong. So when that happens, we want to either run our program or debug it. There are many ways to go about running a program just to see it work. The first way is to find the code that has your main method or the executable that you're trying to run. Right-click on that specific piece of code and select Run as Java Application. Now note that this is available using Alt-Shift-X and J. And we'll see that running that does bring up the code as expected. And if we were to be highlighted on program.java and hit Alt-Shift-X, which of course is Option-Shift-X on the Mac, we'll see that this brings up a menu on the right that shows different things that we can execute. And here we're running a Java application, so we're hitting J. Goes ahead and runs it just like we expected. Now there's another way to run the program. When we're on our Infinite Skills Password Manager, we can hit the play button, and that will run our program. We'll note that there are different things we can select between in this drop-down menu, including program or our 2 unit tests. So if we'd like to run the encryptor test, we can select that here. And then what happens is every time we hit the play button, it will run the same thing that we've most recently selected. So if we want to go back to the program, we need to select that. Or if we want to switch to the other test, we need to select that. And then that will continue to run. And finally, of course, we can always run something by going to the Run menu and selecting Run, or hitting Control plus F11. So here again, this will run whatever is the most recent in scope. So if we switch back to Program, Run, it will run the program. Or if we just hit Control F11, it will now run the program again. And so that's the different ways that we can go about running our specific program or unit tests within our code. But again, there are going to be times when we want to actually debug the code, where we can run the program but have more access to the code as the code runs or executes. So we'll note that there's a little bug icon here that says Debug Program. So we can go ahead and run that, and we'll see that it'll run the same program, but here we're actually in debug mode, which we can't really see that much in this view. So what we want to do is switch to the debug perspective when we're going to debug. Now that gives us a little bit of different look at what's going on here. You can see some variables, breakpoints over here, debug and servers over here, so this is going to be our execution stack, and then here's some specific code if we want to look at code in this area, and some more stuff from the console. So now when I run debug, the project will still execute, but we'll see that there are some threads running here, and basically the Java worker process, and some different things that are going on. And so we can actually see that, but we don't have any breakpoints set yet, so the code will continue to execute to an endpoint, or basically a stopping point, and it will show us what's working. But we can't really do anything with the code at this point because we don't have stopping points or breakpoints set in our code. And again, just like with the program, the debug has the ability to switch between different executions. So here we can debug a test, debug the other test, and again it will run the same one that we just recently selected. So if we want to go back to debugging the program, we would need to do that. But that wraps up our basic look at executing, running our programs, and debugging our programs.